Welcome back to my channel, everybody. In this video, again, I'm going to take out a brand new Pelican kayak for 2025 called the Seek 100 Angler. And this time, I've heavily modified the boat in hopes to have an easier time on the water and maybe catch some fish. However, I have been told by some people who can't trick fish into biting a lure that you can always go out and just get a picture of the sunrise and maybe some artsy shots with the camera. Me being a professional, of course, I had no problems at all finding a fish from this kayak. That's right, a professional. That's my story at least, and I'm sticking to it. Tighten that drag down a little bit. Oh. Oh man. Tighten that a little bit more. Golly. That's a nice trout. Oh, buddy. Open up. Thank you. Jeez, why are you gonna make things difficult? Before I do the walkthrough, I had to do some fishing from this boat because this little bay that I was in is just full of fish and a lot of beauty, including this island where there were a bunch of birds. There were egrets and heron and cormorants and, well, pelicans, of course. And right next to the island were a bunch of little trout. That sure makes for a fun day, I tell you. A little bit later, I moved out into more open water. It was a mix of grass and sand, and when it was lit up by the sun, it was really beautiful. See all that nervous water right there? There's a bunch of fish right there. Big old school of fish. Out here, I was able to find a different species of fish, a bunch of juvenile snook. What's that for a pretty fish? All clean, no tannic staining on them like they had just gotten here from somewhere deep and pristine. Further in, there was a lot of grass, and a lot of bait too. Had they been here longer, they probably would have been stained more. Anyways, I explored today. I used this kayak to get myself out there. I paddled around this island, marveling at the beauty of the mangroves, even though they were pretty beat up from Milton last year. Sometimes you can find all kinds of treasures hidden in those trees. But today I was headed for a beach where I can give you guys a tour of my new boat, along with some of the additions that I've made to it. I think it's time to take a break from fishing. Hi guys, my name's Marty, and I've been out since sunup with my new Pelican Seek. Like I said, I've done a lot of additions to this boat, but I want to show you what you get from the factory, which is not just a little bit of stuff. I mean, first off, the plastic is beautiful. The colors of Pelican kayaks are really wonderful. They're very durable. That thing is going to last you a long time. Nowadays, accessories can be bought separately in case something were to break or fall apart. If you leave this thing out in the sun and your straps are no good 10 years from now, you can buy a new seat. So there's no reason for you to ever have to buy another kayak once you buy one of these. I think that's pretty neat. The Seek 100 comes with this pouch up front. Let me show you what that's all about. All right, let's say I'm out on the water and I want to reach something. There is a strap here that I can pull on, even with all this junk in the way. See how that works? There's a lot of room in here right now for all kinds of stuff. You can put your tackle in here, your camera gear, your rain gear, whatever you like, and it's easy to get to and stow back to the front of the boat. One of the main things that Pelican tried to design with this boat is an ergonomic boat. So on top of that, you also have these handles here which make getting in and out a lot easier. Thus the name, Stable Entry and Exit Kayak. Now I've done some things to this by taking the screws out, removing a little thing and putting it back in. Let me show you what I did there. Now this is something that you're going to have to assemble when you first get this kayak. The handle's meant to just pop into those clips. I'm adding a screw here so the handle won't just pop back out. For you see, I found myself many times when I'm moving the kayak trying to use the handle to do that. And there was a chance of this slipping out. So to prevent that, I put those two self-tapping screws in the back, and here on the side I removed this nut and bolt, which has this little mushroom shaped thing on it, and that's meant again so that you can quickly take this bar in and out. I couldn't foresee ever wanting to have to take this bar off, so using the equipment that came with it, I made it a more secure connection. Now this handle is a lot more sturdy than it is from the factory. It's supposed to be removable, but I think it's a lot better like this. I've done shower handles for handicap stalls in my construction days, and they had to be very sturdy, so you don't want this thing coming loose while you're using it to get up and down, in and out. And unless you plan on removing it, well, then I would say the modifications I did might be good for your boat as well. Now here in the back of the boat, I have a crate. I've added little bungees here, so the crate can come in and out real easy. You see these two pouches here. Underneath them we have a couple of scuppers and such. I like to keep my PFD down here since I'm usually only in a foot or two of water. It's there if I need it, but it's not required for me to wear it, so that's where it stays on my boat. But this is something that comes with the Seek from the factory. It's quite an interesting concept. We've got a couple pouches back here. Got some soft plastics in there. I mean, you can have some stuff in there that you might not normally use, like this metal stringer that I got. The first couple times I had this out, I put a cooler on top of this, an ExoChill cooler. Today I've got this. This is a ExoChill, I think, also. I've had it for so long, I use it so often. Love this cooler. Anyways, it took me a while, but I didn't realize that if you unclip this, take that bungee off of there, and then put a crate in here, these pouches surround the crate. Pelican makes something called an Exo crate, and I use that all the time with this milk crate. It almost always goes with me, but in this particular case today, I don't need the Exo crate because this kind of comes with it. It's pretty neat. In order to make this work though, I use a bungee here instead of using the straps that come with the boat. See how that's supposed to be? Like that, to help secure everything. I can tighten it down a little bit, but yeah, that makes things a little bit too tight. So I just use a regular bungee like this. If you've ever bought a bungee kit, you probably have some of these. Real easy to do. Now I've got some extra storage places that I can get into, out of. Nice and easy. I got everything I need and space to spare. Now, on the back of the boat, I got to talk about this. This skeg is a Pelican skeg. I got it from a different boat, I think from an old Catch 130 that I had. I know they sell these things online, and it has a single bolt that I just put through the handle hole. You see that? One nut and bolt held that in place. Now, it swiveled back and forth, so I had to do a little modification there. I used some cardboard to mark these pieces of starboard. This one here has got foam underneath it and is going to be a hatch so I can access the inside, where I added the paracord there. Then another piece of starboard, which had to be bent. That was done with a propane torch. Starboard's so wonderful. Cuts like wood, and you can manipulate it like a piece of plastic. I used this hunk of starboard here so I could hold this rudder in place. Once I had the thing shaped, I put it in place and used 2 bolts through holes that come with this rudder. Another 2 screws held it to the kayak. That would keep this thing from turning, and the foam there would keep it quiet. Yeah, that pad makes it a little more cushiony, and in order to deploy it, since I figured it would be hard to get to, I ran the cables through here. See that little grommet doesn't really work so well. I'm gonna have to glue that in there one of these days. There's the up cord, and there's a down cord here as well. And if the skeg goes down, I call it a skeg because it doesn't turn. A rudder will steer you, a skeg just keeps you going straight. And that has vastly improved the performance of this boat. You might have seen my first maiden voyage with this vessel, and I wasn't too happy with the way that it tracked. But now, with a slight modification for only less than 500 bucks, I've got myself a kayak that tracks really good and I can stand in. Yeah, it's pretty neat. Nice. Now, as far as standing in this thing, this boat comes with these ridges right here, which are meant to add traction and help you be more stable when you're standing on this thing, I suppose. But I'm almost always barefoot, so I put these pads on here, and where my heel is, right here, when I'm pushing on here, I now have some cushions for my feet. These are traction pads that are supposed to be for dogs. You can custom make them for various boats. Got them from Pelican. These things are pretty cute. They come with this cutout of a dog print, and I added a cutout for a scupper, again using cardboard to make sure it fit inside this boat. Stick them on the back, made it a piece of cake to install. And then what I did is I put some of those traction pads, the pieces that I had left over, in the base of this on top of a Scotty mount. I drilled a hole in there and I put that in. Not a customization for the faint of heart, so I didn't film that, but now I can take a Scotty cup holder and put it in the factory cup holder, and that makes sure that you don't spill your beverage while you're underway. Very important stuff. So some of the other things that I've done to this boat, I used a magic marker. It made it start from this track. These tracks come with the boat. This is an aftermarket Scotty mount. This is a rod holder and a gear track. You can put all kinds of things in that track right there. You can put your cup holder up there, you could put a fish finder there. Your options are really up to you. But from the front of that, I started my measurements. 1-inch increments. I marked the important ones. Like that's the beginning for a snapper, I believe, is 8 inches. You got 10, 12, 15, 18, 19. 19 is the maximum for trout. 18 is the beginning for redfish. There's 27, 28. That's corresponds to snook and redfish. And then there's a 33. That's the maximum for snook. I should be so lucky to catch a 33-inch fish from this. That'd be a lot of fun. Here I've added a cleat, and I can put an anchor trolley from there to here. Those are just pad eyes. I actually have an anchor trolley with me. It's just a piece of rope. Might as well show that. There's my fish grips, which came in handy earlier. There's my trolley that I made. I made this trolley so that it would fit on all of my kayaks, so I don't have to have 10 different trolleys. So I've got a little clip here. Add that to the front. The eye there. Another ring here with a small length of bungee that keeps everything taut, but makes it easy to attach to the back. There you go. I know you guys seen me use these before. You tie to the cleat through the eye, and then you can change your mounting area either on the bow or the stern, depending on where you want to look when you're out there. These rod holder extensions in the back come out of the factory rod holders. Those are flush mount rod holders. They come with the boat because Pelican considers this an angling kayak. And this is a piece of PVC that's 1 1/4. I heated it enough to bend it there, and then flared the top of it with a beer bottle I think I used. that goes in there, keeps my rod away from the boat. The handle is not hitting. I'm less likely to pull it out of the holder with my paddle, so that makes it really secure. And it also gets it up out of the way of this thing that I added. These rods here go up to the shade. Yeah, that sun, it's kind of beating me up lately. And it's supposed to be 95 degrees today, even though it's still May here in Florida. So oof. Yeah, that canopy is going to be really nice when that big fiery bowl gets a little higher in the sky. On this side, I've got a camera mount here. I know somebody in the comment section asked for me to make a video on how I mount my cameras. Essentially, I've got a ball mount here from Scotty and a little aftermarket dealie here that I can attach the camera that I'm using right now to the top of that. Perhaps I'll go more in depth about that some other time. As far as additions to this kayak, I also added this pouch here by putting a couple of pad eyes there and there. These are reusable zip ties. You can undo that and then remove this pouch when you're stowing the boat, putting it away, storing it, whatever. And in here I have quick access to my pliers. I've got little boomerang snips. These are amazing for braided line. And yeah, I got long sleeves if I want to protect my skin. I've got, you can put anything in there, soft plastics. This little pouch, which I got from Wilderness, really is a nice thing, and I can put it on this boat or on the back of a seat on some of my other boats. In the front, I've got another mount for a camera that came off of another Scotty accessory, and the standard handle. That's about it. This is a little kayak. It's easy to launch, and it gets you out there without breaking the bank. As long as you don't mind, you know, a seat that isn't top-notch or not having the ability to use your feet to pedal. The benefit really is in the cost. This thing is economical. As far as brand new kayaks are concerned, it's pretty amazing, and you get a ton of features with this boat that you don't normally get with a low-end kayak. So my initial idea of this kayak might not have been the best, but I've kind of grown to like it a lot because of how easy it is to get out on the water. And again, if you're going to pay for a kayak, this one I'm sure would be right up my alley. Fortunately, I got my friends at Pelican that like to hook me up. One last thing I want to say about this boat is the backrest. It twists when you're underway, and I think it's designed to do that, to give you a really soft, cushiony backrest. So having a nice backrest is a hard thing on kayaks that have these cheap seats normally, but that frame really kind of keeps it intact. The straps stay in place. I did add a strap right there so that it doesn't fold down in the down position while I'm standing, because then I would have to like reach back with one hand before I sat down. A simple strap eliminated that, and it's right there, right where I need it. It doesn't fold down by itself at all, ever. I got no complaints about the seat other than the cushion, which I might make an upgrade someday. Something to keep this cushion off of the floor. Yeah, you can see there's a little bit of water in there. That soaks into the cushion eventually, and yeah, you get a little bit of a wet butt. But that's the walkthrough of the Pelican Seek. This is a kayak that you can buy on a budget and turn into a ticket to paradise. I certainly did. And this is also an example of a kayak that you can, with a little bit of modification, go from something simple into something pretty fancy. So okay folks, summertime is coming and there are islands out there waiting for you. Get yourself a kayak, go out there and have some fun. I'll see you guys next time.